Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Jermell Charlo, look, he could be tempted to go fight Tszyu in Australia for the right amount of money. You figure if they were putting up 15, 25 or whatever, however much, 30 million for, Kambosos and Devin Haney fights, when you look at how much money was made between the two of them, you figure Jermell Charlo can go over there to Australia as an undisputed champ fighting Tszyu and easily pick up a $30 million payday. Now, there are some people saying that Jermell Charlo would be foolish to not go fight Tszyu in Australia because they know the money's going to be there. And I understand what they mean by that. And I have to agree with them in regards to at least think about it. Because Jermell Charlo, what kind of fan base does he have here in the States that could turn one of his events into an event that's so profitable he could walk away at the end of the day with $30 million? And that's something that I just don't think is feasible here stateside. Now, it's all about negotiating, and you get what you can negotiate, right? And when you look at Tszyu, understand this. They're trying to fight like October this year, middle of October. But understand this about Tszyu. Same thing about Kambosos. Kambosos made real money in that first fight against Devin Haney. I think somewhere between 12 and 18 million, right? He made a lot of money. And that second fight he made like 8 million or something. Bottom line is, for a guy like Kambosos, although he had, all those belts, I don't think his name and profile is bigger than Tszyu. We know Costa Tszyu, man. That name Costa Tszyu is known globally. And there are a lot of people globally who loved his father and what his father brought to the table and how his father represented not only Russia but Australia. So now you look at Tszyu, he's an Australian. He has that last name. And what he's done since he's been fighting professionally, knocking people out, and especially in the last two fights, which have really been high-profile fights, what he's been able to do. So the table's been set for a fight for a guy like Tszyu and Jermell Charlo. And most boxing experts still favor Jermell Charlo to win that fight. But there are some, well, I'll say this, everyone agrees Jermell Charlo's been out the ring for a while, right? So there's some inactivity there. Everyone agrees. But majority feels he still has what it takes to beat a guy like Tszyu. But there's a sliver of those boxing experts that feel that Tszyu has the momentum and he right now would not just beat Jermell, he would knock him out. And I could kind of understand why they feel that way, because when you look at Castaño and Jermell Charlo when they fought, the first fight and the second fight, Castaño has that style, but he's a small guy, puts some pressure on you, he throws a lot of shots. Tszyu is more putting pressure on you and very selective about the shots he lets go and when he lets them go. But I did notice when Tszyu lets his shots go, sometimes he overthinks things and the shots don't flow naturally. He's not very strategic with his approach. He's not a really good combination puncher, and he's not even a free swinger like a Gotti. But he's a guy that if he gets that one shot off and he hurts you, he'll converge. But it's not beautiful. You see some guys when they hurt you with a shot, and when they jump on you and they start letting those combinations go, it's like it's a thing of beauty. Tszyu looks kind of raw, and his punches don't look really straight. He just more or less like a kind of brawling style, almost like a Providnikov kind of style. But he's not even that fluid in it with his punches. What I'm saying is I'm not trying to take anything from Tszyu. I do think if Castaño was able to have some success against Jermell Charlo, and if Charlo fights Tszyu in Australia, and Charlo's the A side, he should be able to get everything he wants. But he may not get the ring that he wants in Australia. And he goes into a small ring with a guy like Tszyu, who is just going to pressure you. And Tszyu just so happens to land one of them damn Australian bombs on him. The fight could become interesting real quick. But we're going to see what happens with this fight. I mean, look, for Jermell Charlo to take that fight in Australia, he's got to go deal with acclimating to the climate, dealing with the time difference, facilities, food. There's got to be a whole lot of trust there for his team being inconvenienced. I'm not saying it can't be done, but what I'm saying is he's the A side, and this is where money complicates things. You know, you want to sit here in the States, fight and maybe make $7-8 million, or go fight and make $30 million. But there's more of a chance of you losing that fight, depending on what you cannot negotiate. But they're going to compensate him. He will be compensated handsomely. But he could end up losing all those belts. So we just have to see what happens with Tszyu, what happens with Jermell Charlo. We know Tszyu wants that fight super bad because the timing couldn't be any better for him. It's just like catching Harrison at the time he caught him. Harrison was kind of waiting, about to take a fight with somebody, end of his boxing career. Gets Harrison. Harrison says, wow, I have an opportunity to make some good money. Kind of really want to be a full-time trainer, not sure about boxing anymore. F it, I'll do it. It'll be my retirement fight. And that's what he did. He took the fight, and things kind of worked out for him. But I'm going to tell you right now, we just have to wait and see if the stars line up for Tszyu against a guy like Jermell the way they did for Harrison. But one thing I know, I just don't think Jermell Charlo is going to be okay with just going and chasing that money and basically being the A side, but actually end up in a position of the B side. I just don't think so. And to fight stateside, look, Tszyu knows Jermell Charlo is the man, so he's already planning to come fight in the States. But when they start to have more discussions, you could see this fight take place in Australia. But I just don't think the fan base that Tszyu has, if he fights in Australia, is going to translate to, or is going to show up here in the States. I just don't think so. But at the end of the day, they got to make a decision, man, because Tszyu's not Pacquiao. Pacquiao, there's a lot of Filipinos over here. And there are a lot of Filipinos who came over here for the fight, but there's a lot of Filipinos over here in the States. People who are from, the UK. They're everywhere, but they'll leave from over there in the UK and come here to the States. 80% of the crowd capacity from people from the UK who flew in. So I don't think Tszyu has that kind of support from the Australians for them to fly over here to the States. I think he'll get some, but for the most part, if he turns up out there in the largest stadium they have in Australia, you could see it be more than enough for a guy like Jermell Charlo to make an easy $30 million. So they got to wait and see. That being said, y'all keep cool. Devin Haney did it. Other people have gone outside the United States and defended their crowns or tried to pick up crowns. But for Jermell Charlo, with everything he has going on in his life, his brother, hey, that's not something he has to do. And I don't believe in forcing situations. So we'll see what Jermell Charlo decides to do. But I'm telling you right now, it's not an easy fight for Jermell. I'm telling you, and for anyone out here who's heard anything differently from what I'm telling you, I'm letting you know. I think Tszyu is the real deal. I'm just not sure. I just don't think he's Brian Castano real deal. But I think he has something special in his hands. And he's got that confidence and motivation. And that could be problematic for anyone he gets in the ring with, especially a guy like Jermell if Jermell's not focused. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze.